All right, ready to dive deep. Today we're tackling 14 simple habits that undermine your faith and few know. Get this. It's all about how everyday things, stuff we don't even think about, might be messing with our spiritual lives.
Yeah, it's kind of wild, right? This video basically exposes these sneaky habits that chip away at our faith without us even realizing it.
Like building a house on a foundation full of cracks, but we're oblivious. Seriously, ever felt that twinge of envy when someone's killing it in life? Or maybe you're a worry warrior, stressing about tomorrow nonstop.
Oh, tell me about it. But the thing is, this video connects those seemingly harmless habits to, get this, a weakened faith. And it even throws in some handy ways to fix them, which is pretty cool.
So we're going full-on deep dive mode, not just listing the 14 habits, but really getting why they're a problem and how to flip the script.
Small changes, big impact. That's the name of the game. And knowing the why makes those changes stick.
Okay, first up, envy. The video uses this analogy, right, of ignoring your own garden to drool over your neighbor's award-winning roses. Pretty vivid, huh?
The point is, envy steals our focus. Instead of growing our own spiritual gardens, we're fixated on what others have. We forget our blessings, our potential.
Yeah.
It's like we're saying, God, what you gave me isn't enough.
Oh, I've been there. Comparing myself, feeling that envy monster creep in. It totally kills your motivation. Like, why even bother, you know?
And it's not just a fleeting feeling either. This video straight up quotes James 3.14:16, where envy is this poison breeding chaos and bad stuff. Intense, right?
Poison, that's heavy. Makes you think twice. But then the video suggests a gratitude journal. Sounds cliche, but does that really work?
Absolutely. When you focus on what you're thankful for, your mind shifts. You see the abundance in your life, not just what's missing. Gratitude rewires your brain, for real.
Makes sense, and it totally fits with Proverbs 14.30. You know, a heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones. Powerful stuff.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Envy doesn't just hurt us personally. It messes up whole communities. Think about it. Constant comparison, trying to outdo each other, it creates division, not fellowship.
So instead of lifting each other up, we're stuck in this one-upping game. That's a scary thought.
Definitely. So the video's solution is kind of cool. Imagine events that celebrate everyone's unique talents, what each person brings to the table. It's about appreciating each other, not comparing.
Love that. It's like shifting from competition to collaboration. And it's a beautiful way to live out that core Christian teaching. Love your neighbor as yourself.
Exactly. Mark 12.31 calls it the greatest commandment. Hard to envy someone when you genuinely want the best for them, right? Celebrate their wins as your own.
Okay, on to habit number 2. Judging others. Real talk. Don't we all do that sometimes? It's almost automatic.
It's human, for sure. But the video asks, how does this habit affect our spiritual lives, our relationships? Are we building connections or walls?
And then there's that verse, the reality check, Matthew 7.1, judge not, that you be not judged. So easy to forget.
It's a reminder that when we judge, we open ourselves up to the same judgment. Hypocrisy, plain and simple.
Okay, let's say someone in your church is doing something you totally disagree with. Instead of criticizing, what if, like the video suggests, we actually listened, tried to understand their perspective?
That's a game changer. Judging, especially newcomers or those feeling like they don't belong, creates this unwelcoming vibe.
It's like saying, you're only welcome if you fit this perfect mold, which isn't very Christian, is it?
Nope. So the video suggests support groups, safe spaces to share, no judgment. It's about empathy, realizing we're all on a journey, nobody's perfect.
Okay, deep breath, everyone. This next one's personal. Excessive worry. I'm basically a professional worrier at this point.
I feel you. But hey, remember Matthew 6.34? Do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own.
Easier said than done, right? I have to tell you this story. Once I was so stressed about work, I was paralyzed, couldn't think straight. It wasn't until I forced myself to focus on what I could do right then that the solution appeared.
Classic example of how worry blocks us. Like trying to solve a puzzle blindfolded.
So how do we escape the worry trap? Any tips from the video?
5-minute gratitude meditation every morning. Sounds simple, but focusing on what you're grateful for in this moment quiets those anxieties about the future.
Makes sense. Redirecting your energy from what if to what is.
Exactly. And on a deeper level, worry can actually block us from hearing God's guidance. When our minds are racing, it's hard to discern His voice.
Which leads us perfectly to habit number 4. Not seeking God's guidance when making decisions. Think about a big decision in your life. Did you actually pray about it, seek God's wisdom?
So important. Proverbs 3.6. Acknowledge him in all your ways. That includes those major life choices for sure.
It's easy to get caught up in our own plans, thinking we know best, and forget to consult, the one who actually has the map.
And when we do that, we miss out on his blessings, his protection. We might end up on a path that looks good, but takes us away from his will.
So instead of going solo, how do we make seeking God's guidance a habit? Any ideas from the video?
One practice. Make it a daily ritual to meditate on verses about God's wisdom. It's like priming our minds to seek his input all day long.
Setting that intention, Acknowledge him in all our ways, big or small.
Exactly. And for those major decisions, the video is all about prayer groups. There's power in coming together, seeking collective wisdom, support.
Okay, ready for habit number 5. This one's relatable. Resistance to change. Change is scary, even when it's good.
It's human to want comfort, the familiar. But the video challenges us to see change through a faith lens.
Because from a spiritual perspective, change can be this huge opportunity for growth, right? Like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly.
Absolutely. Isaiah 43.100. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? God's always working, even when it feels uncomfortable.
So instead of fearing the unknown, we embrace it. It's an invitation to something new, exciting, something God has prepared for us.
Exactly. The video gives examples. Moving to a new community, starting a new ministry. Those are big, but they can lead to amazing blessings, new ways to serve God.
Makes you wonder, if we're always resisting change, are we also resisting what God might be calling us to do?
That's deep. To open ourselves up to change, the video suggests trying things like spiritual retreats, personal development workshops, fresh perspectives, challenge our limitations, strengthen our trust in God's plan.
Okay, halfway through our deep dive, time for habit number 6. Lack of spiritual discipline. This is about building that strong foundation for our faith.
Think of spiritual disciplines as tools, right? Equipping us for life's challenges, helping us grow closer to God.
It's like running a marathon without training. You might finish, but it's way harder and you won't perform your best.
The video compares it to athletes training for a competition. Dedication, consistency, pushing past your limits.
And the Bible supports this big time. 1 Corinthians 9.27. Paul talks about disciplining his body so he's not disqualified after preaching to others.
Wow, powerful imagery. And to make it practical, the video highlights specific disciplines: fasting, prayer, regular Bible study.
But it's not about checking boxes. It's about intentionally connecting with God, letting him transform our hearts, our minds.
And the impact goes beyond us. When we commit to spiritual growth, it affects our families, communities, the world around us.
It's that ripple effect, right? Like a pebble in a pond, creating these expanding circles of change.
Exactly. And to stay consistent, the video suggests accountability groups, having others on the journey, encouragement, support.
Okay, let's talk about habit number 7, speaking negatively. We all know how powerful words can be, right? For good or bad.
Words build up or tear down.
Yeah.
Ephesians 4.29. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear.
It's tough to be mindful, especially when you're stressed or having a bad day. But imagine everyone consciously speaking words of encouragement, hope, affirmation. How would that change things?
Powerful, right? Small shifts in language can create big, positive changes. The video even suggests starting meetings with positive affirmations.
Love it. Sets the tone instantly, shifts the focus to the good.
And over time, those small shifts lead to a more uplifting atmosphere for everyone.
Because negativity, it's contagious, right? It's heavy, drags everyone down.
The antidote, gratitude. Remember the journal idea.
Mm-hmm.
But also just choosing to use our words to help, to inspire.
Phew. We covered 7 habits already, and there are 7 more to go. We'll pick up right here in part 2 of our deep dive.
Welcome back, Deep Divers. Ready for round 2? 7 more habits to uncover the sneaky things that might be holding us back spiritually.
Oh, I'm ready. Last time we left off talking about, what was it? Oh yeah, the power of words. So where's this video taking us next?
Okay, so next up is habit number 8. It's all about skepticism regarding God's promises. That feeling of doubt that can creep in sometimes, especially when things get tough.
Totally. Life throws curveballs, promises get broken, and it's easy to start questioning, right? Like, are those promises just words on a page?
It's a real struggle.
Yeah.
But the thing is, God doesn't operate on our human level,
Right. God doesn't break promises like people do.
Exactly. And Numbers 23.19 makes it super clear. God is not man that he should lie, or a son of man that he should change his mind. Has he said, and will he not do it? Or has he spoken, and will he not fulfill it?
Whenever I hear that verse, it's like, whoa, that's powerful. Really drives home the point that God is faithful no matter what.
So think about it. Has you ever doubted a promise from God? Maybe you were going through something hard and that doubt just kind of took over. How did that feel? Did it block you from taking a step of faith or something?
Those are some deep questions. But yeah, I can see how letting skepticism fester can create this distance between us and God. It's like building a wall of doubt instead of, I don't know, a bridge of faith.
Exactly. So the video suggests, as a way to break down those walls, sharing stories, like testimonies of how God has been faithful in our lives. When we hear about how God showed up for someone else, it strengthens our own faith, right? Reminds us he's always working, even when we don't see it.
I love that. It's like those stories are little windows into God's power, making those promises feel real.
Totally. And for a more personal practice, the video suggests saying God's promises out loud every day. Just declaring them, helps solidify them in our hearts, fight off those doubts.
Like we're owning those promises, making them a part of our lives, not just words in a book.
Okay, so moving on to habit number 9. It's about associating exclusively with non-believers. This can be tricky because, well, we are called to be a light to the world, right? Reach out to those who don't know Christ.
Yeah, it's a tough balance. We don't want to isolate ourselves, but we also need that support system of people who get it, other believers to encourage us.
Exactly, and that's what the video highlights, that importance of community within the faith. Like Hebrews 10.25 says, let us not give up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching.
It makes me think of those early Christians, meeting in secret, facing persecution, but they knew they needed each other to stay strong in their faith. And even though, we might not be facing that same level of persecution, we still need each other. It's like that encouragement, that accountability.
Absolutely. Those gatherings, whether it's church, Bible study, or just hanging out with other believers, they're like fuel for our faith. We can't do this alone. It's hard to stay motivated when you're constantly around people who don't share your values, your beliefs.
It's like trying to swim upstream.
And that's not to say we should avoid non-believers altogether.
Yeah.
We should be showing God's love to everyone. Jesus did that, compassion and love, even to those who didn't believe. It's about finding the balance, being in the world, but not of the world, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like being salt and light, right? Flavoring the world with God's love, shining his light where it's needed.
Exactly. And the video encourages us to, actively participate in church events, things like that. It's about making those connections with other believers, building each other up, and spurring each other on.
Okay, this next one is definitely something I think we all struggle with, especially in today's world. An excessive focus on materialism. It kind of connects back to that envy thing we were talking about, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, they go hand in hand. When we're bombarded with messages about buying stuff, owning things, it's easy to get sucked in, always wanting more.
And then, boom, our priorities are messed up. We're chasing after stuff instead of nurturing our relationship with God. It's like trading something eternal for something temporary.
Matthew 6.24 says it all. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money.
Our hearts can only truly be devoted to one thing, right? So what are we choosing?
The video asks us to think about how much time and energy we spend on getting rich versus, spiritual things. Prayer, Bible study, helping others. Where's our focus?
Time for a gut check. Are our actions matching our values? Are we actually living out our faith, or are we just talking the talk?
And the video suggests that gratitude is a key to breaking free from this materialism thing. When we appreciate what we have, that desire for more, it just kind of fades away.
It's amazing how a simple shift in perspective can change everything. Instead of focusing on what's missing, we start to see the good stuff, the abundance we already have.
And to cultivate that gratitude, the video suggests some cool things like joining Bible study groups or retreats that focus on simple living, stepping back from all the consumerism and reconnecting with what truly matters.
I love that. Hitting the reset button, remembering what brings real joy and fulfillment, not just temporary happiness from buying things.
And speaking of gratitude, that leads us right into the next habit on the list. Lack of gratitude.
It's like the flip side of that materialism coin, right? When we're so focused on getting more, we forget to be thankful for what we already have.
It's like we're looking at the empty half of the glass instead of the full half. And that can really drag us down,
Makes sense. Always focusing on what you don't have, you'll never feel content.
Exactly. It breeds dissatisfaction, envy, always chasing something just out of reach. But guess what? Gratitude is like a muscle you can train.
Okay, so how do we work out that gratitude muscle? Any exercises from the video?
Super simple things, actually. Keep a gratitude journal. Say thank you more often. Take a few minutes each day to think about what you're grateful for.
I like that. Building gratitude into our daily routine, like it's a mental reset, shifting our focus from the negative to the positive.
And it's not just about feeling good. Studies show that gratitude can actually improve your health, boost your immune system, even strengthen your relationships.
Wow, that's amazing. It's just by choosing to focus on the good. It really shows how powerful our thoughts are, you know? They really do shape our reality.
Okay, are you ready for a tough one? Habit number 12 is not practicing forgiveness.
Oof, yeah, that's a hard one. Letting go of hurt, anger, resentment, especially when someone's really wronged us. It's not easy.
Forgiveness is one of the most challenging, but also one of the most freeing things we can do for ourselves spiritually.
It's important to remember, though, forgiveness doesn't mean what the other person did was okay, right?
Exactly. It's not about them. It's about us, letting go of that burden, that hurt and anger that can eat us up inside.
Choosing freedom over resentment.
Colossians 3:13 tells us, bearing with one another and forgiving one another if anyone has a complaint against another, even as Christ forgave you, so you also must do.
We're called to forgive like we've been forgiven. Powerful stuff.
Think about a time you held on to a grudge. How did that feel? Did it affect you negatively in any way?
It's like carrying around a heavy weight. Weighs you down emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It blocks you from really experiencing God's love, His grace.
So to help us let go, the video talks about writing a forgiveness letter. Have you ever heard of that?
I have, and you don't even have to send it, right?
Nope. It's the act of writing it out, acknowledging the hurt, choosing to let go. It's like therapy, processing those emotions in a healthy way.
Like releasing that toxic energy.
And for those who might need extra support, the video mentions reconciliation groups within churches, safe spaces to work through conflict, find healing, restore relationships.
It's creating an environment where forgiveness can actually happen, right?
Okay, on to habit number 13. Pessimism and lack of hope. This one hits hard when you're going through tough times facing challenges.
It's easy to get sucked into that negativity spiral, Life throws a punch and you feel like you're drowning in despair.
Those feelings are normal, but we don't have to let them define us. Remember Romans 15:13. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope.
That's like a lifeline, reminding us that even in the dark, God's hope is still there.
Hope isn't just a feeling, it's a force. It sustains us, fuels our faith, keeps us moving forward.
Okay, so how do we fight pessimism and grow that hope? Any practical tips from the video?
One simple thing. Every day, write down what you're thankful for. Sounds basic, but it actually retrains your brain to see the good, to be more positive.
Love it. Train your minds to look for the blessings instead of getting stuck in the negative.
And to make that hope even stronger, the video suggests being around other hopeful people, prayer groups, Bible studies that focus on God's promises, stories of faith. It's contagious.
It's like surrounding ourselves with people who radiate hope, remind us that even when things are tough, God is still working.
Okay, deep divers, we've reached the final habit. Number 14 is all about growth, keeping things fresh. It's about not reassessing and renewing faith.
This one really speaks to me. Our faith isn't a destination, it's a journey, right? Always growing, always changing.
Exactly. We can't just go through the motions, stay stuck in a rut. We have to be active, always seeking God, letting His Spirit work in us.
It's like a garden. Needs constant tending, care, and nourishment to thrive.
So the video says, take a look at your spiritual practices. Like, are they meaningful? Prayer, Bible study, serving others, do they feel authentic? Or have we gotten complacent, just going through the motions?
Time for some honesty, right?
Yeah.
Is my faith alive, vibrant, or is it just kind of flatlining?
And beyond evaluating what we're already doing, we also need to explore new ways to connect with God, with our faith community.
Like maybe a spiritual retreat, a new Bible study group, volunteering, or trying a different style of worship.
The key is to stay open to growth. Step outside our comfort zone. Let God lead us, even if it's unexpected.
Embrace the adventure of faith, knowing God has amazing things in store if we're willing to follow.
And the benefits of this, wow, they're huge. It keeps us from getting stuck, helps us face challenges with confidence, and brings us closer to God.
All right, deep divers, we've made it. All 14 habits unpacked. Out of this last batch, what really struck you?
For me, it was the theme of gratitude. It kept coming up, you know? It's so simple, but it can really change everything. It's like the foundation of a thriving faith.
Totally agree. And I was struck by the emphasis on community. We need each other, that support system, the encouragement, the accountability to help us stay on track.
Like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We weren't meant to do this faith thing solo.
Okay, deep divers, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll wrap up with some final thoughts and a challenge to put all this into action. Stay tuned.
Okay, deep divers. We're back ready to wrap up this exploration of these 14 habits, the ones that might be secretly messing with our faith.
It's been quite the journey, unpacking all these ideas, challenging ourselves to really look at those everyday things that, surprisingly, can have a huge impact on our spiritual lives.
Before we go any further, though, got to reiterate something we talked about before. This isn't about beating ourselves up, right? It's not about guilt tripping or anything like that, right? It's about being honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
Looking in the mirror and saying, okay, where can I grow?
Exactly. It's about spotting those tiny cracks in our spiritual foundation and figuring out how to fix them so our faith can be strong, resilient.
So deep divers, here's the big question. Which of these 14 habits really hit home for you? Which one made you think, maybe that's something I need to work on?
Yeah, and more importantly, what's one tiny step you can take this week to start changing that habit? It doesn't have to be this massive overhaul, right?
Baby steps, consistency, those small choices we make every day, they add up to a life of faith.
It all comes down to that, right? Those little choices day after day.
Remember that verse from Proverbs 3.6, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. That's about inviting God into every part of our lives, even those little habits that seem insignificant.
It's funny how sometimes the smallest things make the biggest difference.
So deep divers, as you go about your week, pay attention. What habits are shaping your faith journey?
And remember, we're all in this together. Learning, growing, sometimes stumbling. But we're a community, right? Supporting each other, encouraging each other, pushing each other to be our best selves.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. It's been great exploring these important topics with you.
And until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, keep diving deeper into this amazing journey of faith.